Welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast, where two friends come together to discuss all things hockey and where everyone's opinion is appreciated. Please welcome your hosts, Merrick Zemp and Colin Simpson.
Hello and welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 27. My name is Merrick Zemp, and with me, as always, my buddy Colin Simpson. How you doing tonight, Simps?
I'm doing good. Normally, this is the part where I ask you how you're doing. Unfortunately, I watched the game, so I think the viewers will know exactly how you're doing once we start getting into this.
I was 0.4 seconds from a good night, Simps. 0.4. Yeah, it's a little bit ridiculous. It's hard not to get frustrated by that whole play. It's a dump and chase with 0.4 seconds left. Anyway, why don't you talk about the game a little bit first?
Obviously, yeah, another tight game between these two teams. We're expecting to see that the whole way. Two teams that match up quite well, in my opinion, in the fact that they both have a lot of deep teams. They have some guys that can score. Obviously, you can go back to Eichel and McDavid conversation days, which we know in today's day and age, Eichel's turned into a great two-way player, but there's been massive separation on who the superstar is out of that group. Obviously, Edmonton's come out really well in this series, and this game, I didn't see the very first part of the game, so I'm not sure who scored first or what.
2-0 for Edmonton.
They did start out the 2. Yeah, I came in at the end of the first when it was 2-2. So they did get a 2-0 lead, which is obviously the dream start for the Oilers. You know, up 2 games to none, and their home building, get the crowd going, get behind them. I think Vegas then is probably lucky at that point for it not to run away from them.
Yep.
But don't get me wrong. That being said, I think Vegas tightened things up a little because even though Oilers had 2 goals, when I also started to watch it, they only had 9 shots when it was 2-2.
2 goals on 4 shots, I think, is where they were at to begin this game. So
that's the key sometimes when you're trying to take on a real talented team like this that can put up the puck in the net, is try to limit the shots where possible. Don't let them because I think the Oilers, they build off those. The building gets a little more excited because they have such a good chance to score. They know what the team's like. So every shot kind of builds some momentum and gets the other team hemmed in. And I think the Vegas did a good job in the first period, at least, to making sure that the Oilers did not run away with this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It was pretty even, really. Like the shots, they had an early power play, I believe, for Vegas. But then you still ended up with, the majority of the shots were still going towards Vegas, but not really. They weren't much. They weren't anything too crazy. They were just kind of there. So they got a few more shots, but it really wasn't much overall. The goals came. I'm not a huge Skinner basher or anything like that. I think that he does a decent job. He lets some weak ones in, but I think lots do. I think there's problems that way sometimes, whatever. But the fact is, the first one, he kind of, it was a play where he goes down in a butterfly and he's in front of the puck and the rebound's there and he'd be fine. Instead, he kind of did a half butterfly, stacked the pads, fell over sideways, and ended up sitting down on his butt with his pads there, and the guy got the rebound and put it over him. Really, it makes no sense why that was how he went. The second goal, less than a minute later, the Oilers are doing a change, and Riley Smith, not exactly known as a big goal scorer, a speedster, or anything like that, absolutely just walks 2 of the Oilers, walks right between them, a couple of stick checks, goes in and puts a nice move on Skinner. No blame for that one. He tried, but, just went 5-hole and it happens. But that first goal, I mean, it's one of those ones where it doesn't make sense why he's not just in a standard position in a normal play. And the third goal was very similar, where he just needed to move over, but he didn't and ended up having a bit of a problem with it. And then obviously the very last goal was one where with 0.4 seconds left, he's 6 feet out past the crease, trying to shut down the angle instead of just hugging the post and making sure there's no shot. So he's over aggressive. He goes way out. The puck slides past him, and then Draisaitl's trying to block it and stop it. Realistically, I'm not blaming Draisaitl for it because you're going to try to stop the puck if you think it's going in the net. But the fact is, it probably would have went straight across the crease because he didn't have much area to shoot at from once he was there. But the fact it was along the ice, all you had to do was just stay in your net and hug the post, and there's nowhere to put it.
So let's take a step back though. So because you brought up Skinner, I've heard different rumors on some of the stuff I was reading this morning. Was it a day off for Pickard? Was it an injury for Pickard? What's the reason why he's in the net?
The last game, I think it was Hurdle or somebody fell on him. And so looked like he tweaked a knee maybe a little bit. Was a little bit sore. They scored right after actually, but obviously it didn't affect the outcome of the game because the Oilers came back, but and still won it in overtime. But yeah, he kind of landed on it. I don't know. Maybe it's like an ankle. Could have been that it looked like a knee, maybe, but it could have also just been that his foot was straight, so it kind of bent the ankle a little bit, whatever. So they called him day to day and put Skinner back in.
Okay, so just day to day, they're not anything blown up where it's like, okay, he can't come back.
No.
No, don't get me wrong. Like, I get Pickard's had a great playoff series, but he's not exactly where you're like, oh, without Pickard, we can't win. I think Skinner can give you the same games that Pickard can.
Yep.
Quite honestly, like, I think Skinner gives you greater saves. So let's think about the wraparound from Hurdle tonight. Right,
Mhm.
Skinner makes a great save. He does that. This is what he's done his whole career, in my opinion. This
Mhm.
is this is the part where you live and die, and it's hard to be a Skinner fan because he gives you saves like that, and then he gives you complete gaffes, right? So it's the inconsistency where I find Pickard to be less flash and dash, but more consistency,
Yeah.
right? You know kind of what you're getting from him, but he might not make some of these miraculous, you know, athletic saves like that one was.
Yeah.
So it's kind of two different goalies, but I think at the end of the day, they both give you what I would only consider to be steady goaltending.
Yeah.
If you were to take the highs and lows of Skinner and then the consistency of the other guy, I don't think they're ever going to be the true factor on whether the Oilers go through. You know, like it's going to be McDavid and Draisaitl and then maybe some depth scoring, but it's going to be the two big guys. And
Yeah.
if they're running all cylinders, then you know that's what's going to help them get through. Looking at some of the stats, even, which is one of the big things I've noticed in the series with LA, and then even the series with this series so far. One of the biggest stats that the Oilers have had is how many goals they've gotten off of like offensive faceoffs. And I forget what it was, but it was crazy amounts. Like how many times they scored by winning a draw and scoring. It was unheard of. So when they get 57.7% against like 42%, that's a massive difference in the faceoff dot. And I think that's Vegas playing with fire with a team that does get that many goals off of it. Now, that's not to say where all those are, but you want to be a bit better on the draw against Edmonton, in my opinion. Otherwise, I think you're going to risk, you know, having that stat come back and bite you in the ass.
Oh yeah. Well, and another one you see there is 50% on the power play tonight for the Oilers, 1 out of 2, 0% for Vegas. That's a big difference, a big deal. The Oilers at home were 6 of 8, I think. They were 6 of 7 with the one they scored, and then 6 of 8 because they missed the next one. So they're running at 75% at home, but they haven't scored a power play goal on the road. So you look at those numbers, and obviously between the faceoffs and the power play, you have to control that play. But I watched it, and I was very thankful that Vegas decided to follow the same game plan that LA had. We're up by a goal. Don't worry, there's nothing they can do to hurt us. Let's just keep dumping it out and making sure just everybody stay back, just dump it out, and there's no way they'll ever score on us. And they just kept doing it. And I'm like, this is fantastic. As an Oilers fan, I love it. I would be screaming at my TV right now if I was a Las Vegas fan because they're just giving them chances over and over and over. You're giving them chances, letting them come rushing back in, and eventually they scored. So, yeah, I hope that nobody learns that you shouldn't do that because it's been great to see a couple teams doing it already in the playoffs. And hopefully, if one of these games, Edmonton can actually not be behind in the third period. We won't have to see it. But the very least, if they are behind, at least we know that that's the plan, is just to keep dumping it to them and let them give them a good chance to score.
Yeah, I definitely think Vegas did it much better in this game, though, than what we've seen from the LA series and then at other times in this series with Vegas. I think they were executing it pretty well. Obviously, it showed even in the shot totals. It wasn't just a onslaught from the Oilers. I feel like Vegas had as many good scoring chances in that third as did the Oilers. Now, were they chipping out and maybe could have created more? Absolutely, I agree. Like they were making sure they're playing the safe play, keeping guys back, but they did get some good chances on Skinner, and Skinner made some big saves even in the third there that kept this alive. And then let's be honest, beyond an absolute fluke show lucky goal by McDavid, right? If that lucky play doesn't go in, they've done job done and did it for 20 minutes. But I don't think it's a recipe for success just because you pulled it off in one period. And in which we can truly say you didn't even pull it off, even when you did well with it. The fact that the one lucky bounce did go in, and there you go.
Yeah, there was a
If you
really
scored
good
one
look
the
by
other way,
Draisaitl. Yeah, there was a really good look by Draisaitl too, where he hit the side of the net. But Aiden Hill had no chance. So I mean, they made the play. He missed the shot, right? So they were still pushing and doing well.
correct. But like if Vegas was to just have turned it on and got one more, that's a better defense than sitting back and hoping that McDavid or Draisaitl don't put one of those in or a lucky bounce. And that's how some of these games end. They end in these lucky bounces, right? When you're trying to hold on, you just take anything shot from anywhere. It hits a skate weird and goes in your net. And we've seen it time and time again. And at the end of the game, this one was even crazier. So I guess you could trade off 2 goals that probably shouldn't have went in. The Oilers one, a little bit worse. Like you said, there really was no reason for the goalie to be out that far, nor was, and I get what you're saying for sure. Draisaitl is like, you just see a puck going towards your net and you just want to be like, oh no. But at the same token, you kind of have to read that and go, just let it, you got to be able to tell that was going way wide. It was not going in the net. There's no way it was going across the front of the net.
Yeah.
Players have to do it all the time when it's coming across, and as a defender, you just lift your stick and let it run to the corner.
Yeah.
You don't put your stick down and play it because you're like, it could be
I have no idea where it's going to end up.
Right. So you just don't do it. You accept the fate.
Even if there is a player on the other side, you curl that way and try to block any other shots or anything else that could be happening. So I get it, but he's halfway through the net, right? He's a good 1.5 feet, 2 feet, maybe not in the middle, but he's pretty close to the middle of the net with his stick. Like, it's not like he tipped it on the outside of the net and it still went in. He's tipping it right in front of the net, right on the goal line. But again, you got to know, but at the same time, I don't blame him for trying to knock it out of there. But yeah, like, all he had to do was hug the post.
Yeah.
Like,
the perfect decision is to don't put your stick into it.
Yeah.
The human decision is to do what he did.
Yeah.
Right. That's the
best. And if
he
stopped it on the line, we'd be saying, what a miracle.
He looked like a genius. Right?
Yeah, it'd be the greatest stop. And it was probably going wide, but he stopped it from being a goal. He stops it, backhands it out of the crease, and we go to overtime.
And we're talking about 2 players, but let's be honest. There's only a couple seconds left in the period. Where's the rest of the guys?
You had McDavid and Bouchard McDavid and Bouchard right in front of the net, skating back towards Skinner and not paying attention to Riley. So then how that puck squirts out between the two of them right to Riley. And then,
That's to me, that's just losing focus, thinking the game's over, losing focus and starting to think about like overtime.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something they got to talk about and say, you know what? We need our focus to stay for all 60 minutes. We've proven that even 59 and 59 is not even enough time to pay enough attention.
That's so hard to watch. And you look at this and you think how much this whole playoff run for the Oilers has had for just showmanship, for just like sheer excitement levels and everything else. In 8 of their 9 games, they've been within a goal in the last little bit, right? They got an empty netter in Vegas. Or no, I guess it was just ahead. It wasn't an empty netter because Brown got it. But was excited to the end and whatever else. But out of all the other games, twice they've lost in the last minute, and obviously the last second. Twice they've lost in the last minute after tying it up. And then every other time, every other win they've had to come back and win in the third. So, I mean, you look at that and it's excitement and whatever, but you're tempted fate. You can't give up 5 goals to LA in the first game and expect to win. Even though you came back and whatever else, you're tempting fate. This one, you gave up 3 goals. You shouldn't have. They were tough plays. Then you got better again, but you were still giving up big chances. And then, you're tempting fate that this stuff happens. So hopefully they'll bear down, come out and do what they need to do in the next game at home and go back to Vegas with a 3-1 lead. But it's definitely, there's a few changes need to make. A couple notes. I noticed that Wallman was a +1 again, whereas Darnell Nurse was -3 and Kulak was -2. There was a couple terrible plays by Kulak, sometimes on the same shift. he'd ring it around the boards and then not get the rebound after that and like coughed it up the middle. It was just like there's some terrible plays, but -3, -2. It's tough. Everybody else even. And +1 for Wallman. I think he's up to like +12 now in the playoffs. Like he's really been a steady guy back there for him. And then one other note on the Golden Knights side, Mark Stone played 5 minutes, 54 seconds, did not play after about the halfway mark, maybe three-quarter mark of the first period. And they ruled him out and said he's not coming back. So it was good to see, not in a happy that he's there because he's a good player, but it was good to see McNabb there. I was a little worried that his shoulder was in a kind of dangerous play and whatever, that he may have actually, blown his shoulder up or something like that or whatever, but looks like was okay. He played 20 minutes tonight, so obviously he was all right. So that's a good thing. Like I said, not happy to have him back. He's a decent player, but you don't ever want anybody injured and stuff like that when it's especially when it's kind of a shady play. I was shady, by the way. I said shady play.
And then was this the first night back for that Dorofiev or whatever?
Yeah.
So I think that maybe helps give the Knights a bit of a spark if he was a big part of their offensive production this year. It's probably pretty good to have him back in the lineup. I didn't notice him a ton in the sense of like he looked amazing. But in a sense where, just getting your team back.
Getting people back. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, hey, as an Oiler fan, we are well aware of what it's like to get your teammates back.
Gets your line mates back and stuff like that. It makes you not all being shifting around. So I think that helps.
But yeah, I really didn't. I once or twice I remember hearing his name, having it on the boards or something like that. But yeah, there was not a lot out of him for sure.
All right. Well, that's going to take us to what? Monday night, game 4? In Edmonton?
Monday night, game 4. It's kind of crazy to think that we're already there. So it's already been a week. We'll see what happens with that. And yeah, big one, big game. I've always said game 4 is the biggest one, just because it's the huge swing, right? You're 2-1 for somebody most of the time. Every once in a while, it's 3-0, but you're 2-1 for somebody. It's either 3-1 or tied going home. So they really got to win this one. Make sure put the pressure on Vegas, and then try to end it in Vegas. And go from there. So,
is there any chance if Pickard is not injured that Skinner keeps the net?
I don't think that he did enough to take it back after what Pickard has done so far.
I agree. I think if he's fully healthy, I think you got to go back to Pickard. I don't think it has anything to do with this as a loss. I just feel like exactly that. In order to get your net back, you've got to prove that, because the other guy didn't do anything wrong, really wrong to lose the net. So in order for you to get it, you have to prove that you really, really deserve it. It can't be just...
Well, you kind of think even like one bad game by Pickard isn't necessarily going to switch off of him, right? So
correct.
You definitely don't see this. But again, like you look at it, I was giving Skinner a hard time, an .833 save percentage, 4 goals on 24 shots. On the other side of the play, you had Aiden Hill, who was 3 goals on 20 shots. So he had an .850 save percentage. Skinner was .833. Yeah, it's not amazing. It's not unbelievable, but it's also not. I don't think he was the reason for the loss, but at the same time, I feel like it's really a challenge because, like you said, you see the wraparound stop. You see there was a breakaway stop that they should not have given up a breakaway at that point. That he'd stop, big glove save. Those are there. Do you get that out of Pickard? I don't know. But at the same time, these couple other ones where it's all you had to do was kind of go down and maintain position, and that would have made the stop. Maybe you do see those ones. So you're right. Like, yeah, the 2 that they did score, they wouldn't have because Pickard would have stayed in position, but they would have scored on the wraparound and the breakaway.
And I've always maintained through all my sports career that the goals, the bad goals that go in are more disheartening than when the guy makes a great save on what kind of boost I get out of that. You know what I mean? Like, so if you make a save you shouldn't have made, I get a little bit of a pump out of it. But when your goalie's letting in goals that are just weak as heck, and you've been busting your butt off and you did all the right plays and he lets in one, that takes you down 4 pegs where like you go up 1 peg from a great save. So that's where I feel like sometimes when you get consistent goaltending in these games, that's more important than the make a save that no one else would make because maybe they make the same amount on the scoreboard, right? Like, so if you were to look at it both ways, you still might have only allowed 2 goals. One guy let in 2 weak ones and made 2 amazing saves, and the other guy just let in 2 pretty good goals, but he didn't do anything else. But what you build out of the rest of the team and the momentum you build out of it or lose from it, that's the only reason why I've never liked Skinner, because I don't think too many times that's what happens. And it's a knock on Bouchard as well, I feel. Whereas when he does his great plays, you're like, well, that's so amazing. And then as a teammate, you watch him just completely hand the puck to the other team and they score. You go, wow, right?
Yeah.
And that can hurt the rest of the momentum from the team and their confidence and stuff like that. But so I think there's a good chance you'll see Skinner if there's any sort of possible injury still to Pickard,
Yeah.
because they are so close.
Mhm.
Right? I think the coach can't really go wrong. I think there'll be questions, obviously, if there's a healthy Pickard and he goes Skinner and they lose, there'll be a lot of things asked from Knobloch and be like, why on earth did you not go back to the guy who you've ridden this far and has got you here? But from a coaching standpoint, I flip a coin between the two guys when I look at talent level and what
But
I'm getting from them.
just like you said, optics.
Mhm.
Like Pickard is literally 6-0 in the playoffs, and Skinner's 0-3.
Correct.
Like, and even with that, like their numbers aren't way different. They're different. Skinner's are worse, just because he got shelled the first
Yeah.
couple games when nobody was playing well in LA. So I mean, it's got to be tough. This isn't a terrible game for him. 4 goals on 24 shots. He makes that last one. They go into overtime.
And
It's
and it's
anybody's game.
And for me, when I look at a Skinner bad game, I'm not even just looking about the goals against him. I'm looking about the turnovers from playing the puck. Those are the things or he just goes behind the net and it comes out in front of the net and they tap it in. That's the Stuart Skinner stuff. If he just stops that from happening,
Yeah.
to me, he's got a good game coming from him. It's those things that were the things when you put Skinner in the net that you have to worry about. He will make a lot of these saves. Yeah, 4 goals. Let's be honest though, like the goaltending across the playoffs has mainly been garbage. I've looked at most teams, whether they win or lose, they're in the 850, 880. You see the odd game where a guy's over 920. It's not often in this playoffs for some reason. There has been no goalie stealing the show.
No, and the fact is, in general, right? It's playoff hockey, so there's less shots, it's more defensive, everything else, but they're still scoring on good chances. The same as they always do. It's just when you're firing 40 pucks at the net, yeah, you get a 920, 950 save percentage, even though you let in 4. Right now, nobody's doing that. They're taking 24 shots. So, yeah, no, it is a thing. I do want to make one more call out as well. Corey Perry, the ageless wonder, with 2 more goals tonight in the first period, one on the power play, one even strength. Just continues to do what he needs to do as a leader and a grinder and everything else. And then in the end, I don't know if it's just load management or any of those kind of things or what they're doing. Again, Knobloch decided after the second period or partway into the second or into the third, whatever, to start shuffling the lines up again and doing different things. I just don't understand the logic in always doing it. You've got some lines that are going so well. You really got to just keep rolling them out there and doing it. I mean, one of the things they talked about is Podkolzin and Arvidsson. Now, these are 2 guys that were second line all year with Draisaitl, and it was kind of out of their element. They're not scoring, they're not doing much, but you drop them to the 4th line, which is where they should be, and they look amazing as 4th liners. So it's that kind of stuff. Leave them together, let them play. Just let them go.
Yeah, but in all fairness to Knobloch as well, like you could be right, and we've seen it in the past, and we called out other coaches for doing it. But there is the factor that we just don't know what's going on the bench either. You could have one guy who's a bit sick. You could have a guy who's a bit sore. You could have, there's different factors where you're like, well, this guy can't go 2 shifts in a row. I need to mix things up. There could be
Yeah.
more to it than just, I feel like, shuffling lines. Because really, you're not doing bad enough. It's when you're losing 2 games in a row and you start shuffling, fair. I don't think many coaches do too much shuffling unless they absolutely have to. I didn't think the Oilers played bad enough where it was like they went 20 minutes without a shot.
No,
where you'd feel the need to start doing that type of line management. But we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I definitely believe in keeping lines together where possible, especially when you've gone like 5 games in a row pretty much. Like you don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah.
But we'll see
Yeah.
what he does in game 4.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's going to be the big one now. Yeah, we should see good things. I liked a lot of what I saw tonight. They still had some good chances. They still made some good plays. You saw some good things from Frederick, from Kane. Hyman looked good, some big hits. That's the other thing. They really seem like they're hitting the defensemen a lot more, same as they did in the LA series. So I think you're going to see the Petrangelos and stuff start to maybe slow down a little bit more or rush the passes. You saw that in the overtime last game. Petrangelo gave it up a few times, just coughing it up because there's too much pressure. And so I think we'll continue to see that. So I think that's going to be a big play. And then I think the power play and PK are going to be big in the next one. Hopefully they'll actually call it. I know McDavid got another stick broken in his hand, stuff like that. No calls, so you just kind of get what you get. Hopefully we can just outlast those things and get the win.
Yeah. Okay. So since we last talked for the last Oilers game, we've had a couple other series on the go. We've had a couple games.
Yep.
We've got Jets and Stars was game 2 of the series.
Yep.
Second game in Winnipeg. How did they fare this time around?
They played an absolutely amazing game. Textbook, as they say, Winnipeg Jets hockey. It was a 4-0 win, a shutout by Hellebuck. As we talked about, how are they going to win? They're going to win if their goalie shows up, and he totally did. And they just played an all-around good team defense, team game, and won 4-0.
Now, I did notice the one notable out of this was there was still no Scheifele back.
That's right. They did have, I think Ehlers was back and Morrissey was back, I believe. I think those are the two that did make it back.
That definitely helps. But
oh, yeah.
You definitely would like to get Scheifele back if you're thinking about a long run.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other one was while we were recording last time, they were in overtime, Florida and Toronto. And Florida did win that one. Brad Marchand, textbook overtime winner, ripped the puck straight at Morgan Riley, hit him in the glove, and then went over the shoulder of Joseph Wall. It's like you said, you shoot, you get the puck towards the net because anything can happen, especially in overtime.
And I'll tell you what, though, Marchie's having quite the playoffs. He's been playing very well, getting lots of points. I know as a Leaf fan, you must be sitting back going, okay, we're up 2-0. This team's kind of battling, and they've won another one back, and Marchie's been an absolute pain. I don't think there's anything a Leafs fan could handle is if they lose this series down up 2-0, and Brad Marchand is the reason why they get knocked out. It'd be like, how do you get away from this guy?
Yeah.
You had to deal with the Bruins for years and him coming back and beating you, and then he switches teams and does the same thing to you.
You know exactly what's going to happen, Simps. Call it right now. If they win, where does Marchand sign in the offseason?
Yeah, if he isn't in Toronto, I'd be shocked.
Right?
The brass up there would be like, okay,
just get him. I don't care what he wants.
The Bruins, but maybe it was just this one guy.
Yeah, just get him on the team. We don't care. So yeah, their goals. They play tomorrow night. It's the second game in Florida. Obviously, everybody's holding home ice at this point. So the Leafs really want to take one on the road there. Same as Edmonton does. Get that 3-1 lead and then push for it and try to close it out. So, and then I think there's another series. It sounds like the Hurricanes are up 2-1. Another good win tonight. Actually, I think they won by a couple. So. It looks like they're doing pretty well, and now they're at home. So they got one more at home. Same thing for them. They're going to try to keep home ice and get that extra win.
Yeah, they took it really to the Capitals this time. They got a shutout, 21 save shutout by Anderson. Roslovich had a pretty big game, and as typical for Carolina, they're, like we talked about before, they're a very strong home team.
Yeah.
It's a tough team to beat at home. So I'm guessing at this point we'll probably see them up 3-1 by the time they head back to Washington.
Well, I've said all along I don't really believe in Washington till I see it. Beating Montreal wasn't enough to convince me that they were the team that was pushing for the President's Trophy and a Stanley Cup finalist. So, I think right now we just need Toronto and Edmonton to step up and do what they need and get those 3-1 leads and then be able to close it out. So that's the goal. All right, Sebs, on that note, we'll wrap it up for tonight. I just want to thank everybody for listening. Don't forget, find us on Spotify, on Apple Music, on Google, on TuneIn. You can also find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. Let us know you're there. And that's Sports Buds. So sportsbuds.com, www.sports, sports dot, no dot at all. It's www.sportsbuds.com. So just make sure you get the Z in there, and we'll see what we can do for you. Don't forget, check us out on socials, Instagram, and all of that as well. And yeah, definitely follow us, subscribe, do all that stuff so we can see you, and then make sure to post. So ask some questions. We'll try to answer them whenever we can. Thanks tonight, Sibs. Great talk, even after a terrible game.
Yeah, sorry about that, bud. Next time, maybe Monday night will be better news.
It's got to be. I can't handle that one again.
It sounds good.
Thanks, Sibs.
Take care.